Well, welcome to the Finance Committee. We're back in the basement, as you can see. It's been a couple of years since we've been here. The reason for that is I think Mr. Pocola gave us a temporary eviction notice from upstairs. So we'll be back at the organizational meeting back upstairs. A little work's being done upstairs. So the first item we have is assignment for request for council action. We have several for the Finance Committee. 21-242, memo of understanding with county for transit services. 21-243, grant application, 2021 assistance to firefighters. 21-244, grant application, Ohio MHAS funding, municipal court. 21-245, expenditure for Jet A fuel, Epic Aviation Airport. 21-246, amend resolution 15321, fiscal year 21 CDBG grant program. 21-247, purchase property at 368 Foundry Street. 21-248, 2022 tax advance request. 21-249, agreement for eScribe board manager software. 21-250, advance request 2021 CDBG. 21-251, expenditure for modify new roof on county courthouse facility. 21-252, capital grant request fitness room expansion, MCRC. 21-253, MCRC account number changes for ARP funds. 21-254, state contract purchase for weight equipment for MCRC. 21-255, repeal and amend MCRC rental rates for ordinance 17907 and 7302. 21-256, amend 3102E MCRC lifeguard and WSI pay rates. 21-257, consent legislation with ODOT sign replacement project. 21-258, amend ordinance 15720 and ordinance 4321 account corrections. 21-259, advance request TIF district. 21-260, amend ordinance 15121 account collections. 21-261, budget amendments. 21-262, American Rescue Plan project update. 21-263, MOU between the city and 5990 Branch Road LLC. Special legislation has one. 21-264, amend code chapter 50, or 51302 and 51303 regarding marijuana. Ooh. All right. 21-198, income tax allocation adjustment. Keith?
This came from the discussion we had at the budget meeting, and the conclusion of that was to reduce the police fund allocation by 1%, taking that 1%, a half to general capital and a quarter each to rec center and electronic technology capital. I wrote this up, Kathy asked me to, and there were some sections in here where we used to put money where we had zeros, and I just cleaned this all up by getting rid of that, so we've only got what he's actually distributed to. So the letters changed around a little bit, but that's, the net change is just that.
And then in 2023,
There's a further change in 2023 where 5% comes away from the rec center because the debt will be paid off as of December 1st of 2022. And then that 5% goes to the general fund.
and we correct the 0.5% error.
We corrected the 0.5% issue.
Anybody have any questions on that, or you want to rehash it all?
No, I'm good.
Good conversation.
Just checking, it was a good conversation. All right,
Move to approve?
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 21-242, memo of understanding with county public transit. Who's handling this one? Barbara, is she? Oh, there. Yes, Barbara?
Okay, this is semi-annually because, we do it every 2 years for our CDBG grant. This time, you'll note that there's a little more money coming out of the grant and less out of the general fund. Commissioners would like to get it passed this month also because the current memorandum ends at the end of December.
Questions? Nope.
Move to approve with emergency clause?
Second, including the emergency clause?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 21-243, 2021 grant application assistance to firefighters. Chief?
Me, actually.
Oh, yeah, Chief.
Chief, I'm sorry.
Or Keith, I mean, whatever you want to be called.
We're attempting to get FEMA grants from the Department of Homeland Security to replace the department's 15-year-old SCBA's, the air packs that we use They are non-compliant now, and we won't be able to test them after, once we get into next year, because they're 15 years old. So we're requesting permission to submit that grant application and requesting the emergency clause as the window closes on Friday.
Questions?
Move to approve with the emergency clause.
Second, including the emergency clause?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Coyne, one more
Yes,
thing,
Mayor.
if I could. So we've tried a number of years in a row to get these grants, but 15 years is as far as we can go with these. So if we're not successful in this grant, we likely will be coming back to council and asking for another revenue source to try to get these, because we can't send folks into the fire without adequate inspected and working as CDAs.
So 15 years of deadline.
Pretty much so. They won't inspect them. If they won't inspect them, I'm not safe sending a fireman in with them.
Right.
I just want to, we'll do our very best. We have a couple shots at this that I think they
Right.
award. Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, I think in the spring, maybe the summer, maybe again in the fall. So we'll take every run we can at it, but sooner or
Right.
later, we're going to be on the edge of the cliff here.
Okay. Questions? Okay. 21-244, grant application, Ohio MHAS Veterans Treatment Court. Cindy?
Thank you, Mr. President. At the time, I'm just asking for approval regarding this grant. This grant is $75,000 till June 30th of 2022, and then we would receive another $75,000 July 22 to spend to June 30th, 2023. As of today, we were awarded. It was pushed through very quickly, so we're just waiting for that money to be awarded. Our final certification through the Ohio Supreme Court is for tomorrow, so we're pretty excited for that. And we'll be contacting Bill Titterington to figure out how we're going to allot that money and where we can use it for our veterans.
Questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 21-245, expenditure, Jet A Fuel, Epic Aviation. Keith?
Thank you. This is the blanket for the jet fuel for 2022. The emergency clause, I'd like to leave it for now, but we may pull it when we get to council in January. We just bought fuel last week. We bought 8,000 gallons. So as long as our inventory is still sufficient in January, that it's going to last another month, we won't need the emergency clause. But if we suddenly have a run on jet fuel and we're low, then we will, because we'll have to fill the tank.
Okay. Question?
Move to approve with the emergency clause.
Second, including the emergency clause?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 21-246, amend resolution 153-21, fiscal year 21 CDBG grant. Barbara?
Is this like Groundhog Day movie?
Yes.
Because you've seen this before. For some reason, the state rounded up or down two of the amounts. The other two were reversed. And so what's at the bottom of your page is what's on the state allocation. So we need to have that adopted for audit purposes.
Any questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 21-247, purchase of property at 368 Foundry Street. Chancellor?
Thank you, Mr. President. This request is coming to you directly because we were made aware that the property at 368 Foundry was on the market a couple weeks ago. And I believe Councilwoman Hazeltine's the one who informed us about it. You might recall we own the two parcels immediately south of the one in question here. So the property is surrounded on three sides by city property. When trying to figure out how we could acquire it on relatively short notice, we reached out to Walter and Haverfield to see if ARP funds would be able to be used for this purchase. And we found out that since it's in a low to moderate income area, as well as adding additional outdoor park space, that it was eligible for use of those funds. So we felt it was appropriate to reach out to the realtor. I know Greg Mr. Huber has had some conversations with them. They have since taken the property off of the market, but intend to put it back on if they don't hear back from the city. I think it would be a good use of funds to complete the expansion of the park frontage there. We do have a fair market value report for the property, and it's my understanding from Board of Control that we're going to get an appraisal on it here in the near future. I wanted to obviously bring it to you to see if there was interest to purchase it. I would guess not to exceed what the asking price is. It'll depend what the appraisal is and how the negotiations go after that.
And what's the asking price currently?
$80,000.
And if we do move ahead with the purchase of the property, would the current structure, which has some issues, I heard, be raised and then we just use it as land?
That would be how I would see fit for the property. I know Dan has a long history with the property owner.
Do we know what the cost of raising the house, by any chance, an estimate?
I'd say $10,000 to $12,000.
And Mrs. Hazeltine,
Yes.
did you check how much money you have in your Ward 1 account?
No, I did not.
Are you serious? You don't know what's in that account?
Do you know what's in there, Kate?
I answered this question like a week ago.
You did, I can't remember.
But I don't remember the
Oh,
answer.
it's 60?
so-
It was 60, yeah.
She has 60,000 in your
But I thought we
account.
committed that to something. Yeah, we did. What was,
That
what?
last was 30 to 31.
It's about 30 to
31.
Oh, because we committed some of
Yeah.
that.
Well, I'm just saying, it would be a good advantageous purchase for the city, I think.
Well, long-term, I mean, for the park area, and I know that that's been a troubled house for a while, as far as break-ins, my understanding, and, you know, it's just been in a spot where there's nobody around it. That's the issue. But, I mean, if we could use it for the parks, I get it. You're not making more land next to the parks. And if we can solve some of our problems or make it better, I guess, for the park area, it'd be great. Dan, you had a question?
I just want to say it's been vacant for over 10 years. It's been a problem for the 8 years I've been here with the city. We've been to court 5 different times with that owner. He gets penalized and fined. The last time, we had a family living in there with no electric, with a generator, and we immediately had to go in and sort of, not condemn the house, but call an unsafe structure and evacuate them. But we have been through the court system about 5 times. That's it.
So if it was gonna be fixed, it would have been fixed by now. But
Yes.
So the price is really, Dan, is really what the lot price, I mean, the house can't be worth anything, right?
Not really. The
Not
house is-
reasonably, it's probably not worth much of anything, so the price is really just the land and then the cost to tear it down.
That's a fairly larger lot.
Yeah.
So what is everybody's interest? Do you think it's a good idea, bad idea?
I do have one question, Chief Walters. Is this a house you could use for training?
Possibly, I've not looked at it myself.
Okay, so maybe we could save the raising cost and let them flick a bit.
Burn it to the ground.
Okay, for training purposes.
There would be some costs associated with doing that and ADA compliance, but that's not $12,000, so,
Okay,
yeah.
all right, thank you.
I think it's great, and obviously if we can use the American Recovery Act funds, then we wouldn't have to tap into Ward 1.
We just wanna make sure it's there. All
Hey,
right, well, it sounds like, you know, let's get the appraisal, it sounds like it's a go, if we can use those funds, and if we can help the fire department out at the same time and help the parks out,
it's a good
it
idea.
makes perfect sense.
Mhm.
So what do you need from
Once
us?
in a while I get one.
With the gap between the meetings, you know, I didn't have a dollar amount on here because we still have some work to do with the appraisal and negotiation. With there being a gap between our meeting now and the meeting in January, would it be okay going from finance to council? Or is
Yeah,
that not-
when,
Okay with
today?
that?
No, not today.
Well,
In January.
Well, we're already doing finance right now, so.
No, he means the
I don't have
He
a
means
dollar
next
amount.
meeting.
When we have a
Yes.
meeting in January, can we
Don't
do
know
it in
what-
finance and then take it to council?
Well, we're already doing it in finance now, but we
Or
would,
not to exceed.
He means with a dollar amount.
yeah, right, no, we understand that.
Well, right now, we could pick a number and just say not to exceed.
Well, their asking price is 80.
Right.
Not to exceed 80.
That's subject to
Does that hurt the
the
negotiations,
appraisal.
though, if they know that you put that?
Well, it's whatever the appraisal's
Yeah,
gonna
we're
be. I
gonna
mean,
go with
the
the
appraisal's
appraisal.
gonna tell us what we can pay. I mean, we can't pay more than what the
Yeah.
appraisal says.
Well, we could do it then, we could just do it based on, whatever the appraisal comes back.
Well, if the appraisal comes back at 90, we don't wanna do that either.
John wants it both ways.
We have to negotiate.
Well, if it comes
Right,
back
the real
greater
estate
than,
attorney.
Yeah, right.
I would just like a nice little pocket award one. that's
So
all.
I mean, I guess we could say, yes, we're interested, we're gonna move forward with it. We have to get the appraisal to make sure that it appraises for the asking price. And if it doesn't appraise for the asking price, of course, we have to do the appraisal amount. I guess we could approve it at the lower of the asking price of the appraisal. Does that work for you?
Yeah.
You guys okay with that?
You okay with that?
Well, that's how we wanna do it, yeah. That sounds like a good idea.
I'll make a motion with the emergency clause to move forward and at a price at either the lower of the appraisal or the asking price.
second, including the emergency clause.
Any other questions on that? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, there
Thank you,
go.
guys.
21-248, 2022 tax advance request.
This is a bit of a formality, but under the ORC, we have to formally request that property tax settlements be advanced to us as they're collected, and then the county auditor will do that.
Questions? And the emergency clause is because it has to be done before the end of the year. Or, why is the emergency clause on there?
They want these, and it's on the second page, the first payment date is January 21st, so we would have to have it to them before then.
Okay.
Move to approve with the emergency clause.
Second, including the emergency clause.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 21-249 agreement for Board of Manager Software Ascribe. This came to Paul and Kathy. Who wants to talk about it?
Her finger is faster than mine. This is a piece of software that we'll be able to access through the city website. What it will provide is for all of the open, or it will show the community all of the boards and commissions that are available to the city, like the Planning Commission, the Shade Tree Commission, et cetera, all of those. It will show who's currently on the board. It will show their term expiration, and then it will also show any vacancies that may be available. And it'll give the
ability to apply.
Right, thank you, I was Gail, go ahead, Eric.
Oh, sorry.
It will give any interested party the ability to apply, and then the application will be received by the appropriate department head, administrator, whatever, and acted on accordingly. It will be used by council for our boards that we have, the planning and zoning department, and the mayor's office. So with that, the funding would come through the general administration. From a technical standpoint, the company that provides the software is Canadian. We did look at an American-based company. There was really not, in Kathy's estimation, and I let her be the final decision maker here, because she was the one who's gonna have to use it.
Well,
Okay,
that's-
not me.
That makes good sense.
Exactly, okay. So, and she felt that this eScribe was the better product because of its lower cost. The other one was gonna be about $5,000-ish.
Yeah, it was like double the price.
Right, double the price, where this is gonna be, $2,000 a year, okay? For 36 months, for 3 years, and then we will look at, reevaluate, and re-up. The servers, however, are in the United States, which was one of my criteria, because I know they're hardened here in the United States, and where they, regardless of who the company is, they all have similar securities and things like that, so.
Did you guys talk to Darren? Is he okay with, because he's gonna be put on as it went through our computer system, right?
Right.
Yeah.
He's okay with it. Who else was?
Jared.
Jared? Was Jared okay with it too?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, that's what I thought, from his standpoint, so.
So thoughts, anybody?
Good job.
Yeah, I think it sounds useful. Good, well done, Kathy.
Thank you.
And Paul.
So right now,
And Paul.
nobody can, they have to call to figure out who's on the committees?
Nobody
or-
really knows what's on any committee. Like, people usually find their own appointments for them. So I think this will
you know, open it up to a lot more people to maybe get involved in the
Well,
city. We
levels
can
the
also
playing
advertise
field.
that it's on the website now, people can look if they're interested, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Okay. So, it was a fun experience. It took a little longer than I thought, but,
Me too.
you know, life. All right.
Any questions?
Thank you,
Does that
Captain.
make sense, everybody? Is that a good idea?
We talked about it at our Emerging Technologies Committee, too.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. At a higher level, yes.
So we come from general administration because it's used by both the council offices and the administrative offices.
Correct.
A couple of administrative offices.
Correct.
Okay.
Move to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 21-250, advance request for fiscal year 21 CDBG.
It's just a grant that we have the advance for.
Move to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 21-251, expenditure to modify new roof on county courthouse facility. Mary, do you want to talk about this?
Sure. So I was contacted by Scott Miller from the county. As the council is aware, they're building a brand-new courthouse behind the existing common pleas structure. The rubberized roof they're putting on this courthouse would not permit the display of fireworks from the parking deck that we do for Candlelight Walk every year after the parade. So the question was if the city would be interested in paying to upgrade the roof to still permit the fireworks to be displayed. And of course, I found out about this like midweek last week. They need to have the answer like next week because they're, out of fairness, they're ordering the roofing materials to try to have them by May to install them, and that's what they're being told the lag time is. Council President Coyne and I discussed it, the Candlelight Walk, the parade, and the literally tens of thousands of folks that come down to the square to see both the parade and the fireworks synchronized to music. Seems like a positive economic benefit, not only for the square businesses, but for the region. Not only even the city, but the county. People can stop at stores, get gas, go out to eat, things like that. As far as a funding source, I checked and we had uncommitted $165,000 in unappropriated JUD funds. This is clearly an economic development purpose. They expect it's going to be closer to 30,000, but when they originally gave me the range, they said 30 to 40. I put in not to exceed 45 because, in my experience, sometimes it comes in at 40,050 cents or 40,001, you know. And rather than have to come back to the council, this will give us what we need, but we will only expend the amount necessary to accomplish this, which is adding another layer on the roof to protect it then from the fireworks.
Yeah.
Two questions, Mayor. Obviously, with this expenditure, it would increase the durability of the courthouse roof, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Second question, have we thought about maybe using this parking deck for the fireworks?
I was asked about a couple other locations, one being the high school. The problem with the high school is the city and the two townships, Montville and Medina, pay for those. They're $15,000 because they're bigger shells and you have to come up out of the valley for people to see them. The other is with the courthouse there and the area that we have it cleared. It comes out over the park versus over top of buildings, whereas here, if we would send
Answered the
it-
question. Thank you.
I'd be a little bit more nervous with some of the older buildings that we have.
I did mention to the mayor, this is just my personal opinion, I mean, I always thought that the county was, or the city's part of the county, I thought. Like the residents who live in the city also live in the county, but
They do.
I thought, you know, this is a project that is bigger in scope that we're all benefiting from, but I understand that we're put in this pickle that we have to solve, and we have to come up with the money or we don't do it. So what do you do?
I think the aesthetic, I think the aesthetics of where the fireworks come out now and where the people are, you know, and how the buildings line up in front of where the fireworks are is what makes that visual so impressive, effective. You know, and as you were saying, Mayor, I think that if you look at the economic impact of simply that season, you know, $40,000 to ensure that year after year you can continue to do it from the parking deck, I think is probably money well spent that will come back in anyway.
I agree.
Well, this is became a bigger celebration or event
Right.
than any of us ever thought it would be. And I think people are expecting it. Not only city residents, of course, but surrounding area, people come from all over, as we saw from this past, I mean, it was packed. And I think,
You just mad the county thought of a way to help make us pay for part of their roof.
well, it is what it is, and I wish that, I always think that, my personal opinion is, the county has to understand, or some individuals in the county have to understand that we are a part of the county, and this is a thing that everybody uses. That's my-
We also have a really important collaboration going on with the county right now that,
Mhm.
you know, that also speaks to the ability of governments to work together.
Right.
And this is just, I think, another part of that.
We are also the county seat.
That's fair.
So I would also ask, because I need to let Scott know tomorrow, I've asked that this go from finance to council as well.
Much
to do with council tonight, put it on there.
What do you say?
He said we don't have much on council tonight, we can put it on.
Yeah, it's not much. I don't think-
I'm okay with it, I don't care.
No,
Not that anyone cares, but
I think it comes down to, do we have a choice? We have a choice to say no, but is that the wise choice to
No.
make on behalf of the city?
That's
For
not a
decades to
good
come?
battle.
It would be
That's not a
foolish
good
to
place
say
to
no.
go. That's,
I get what you're saying, it is, point to them for coming up with this clever solution, but we'll just eat it, and there we go.
I struggled with it, but then I also feel like we don't pay for the fireworks. We've been lucky that somebody sponsors those every year, so
Yes, sir.
we do pay for the summer ones, so I guess when you think about somebody else is paying for them and all the benefit we get from those.
No, yeah, I mean, this puts us on the map, so to speak, a little bit, and then we're known all over the place because of Canley Walk. I hear, everywhere you go, oh, you're the place that has the fight,
I just hate that it's last minute and we have to move it quickly.
Kimberly, I know you want to talk a little bit about the JED funds, but go ahead.
Kimberly's like, no, pay someone else pay for it.
I was just curious if this funding is just to pay for the materials, or is it materials and labor?
Well, the labor's already, they have to put the roof on no matter what. So this is to pay for the material, the upgrade in the material that allows, I guess, a protection against any hot embers that land on it, it won't affect it. That's what we're paying for.
Do we have any kind of tarp, chief, we could just throw over that roof that's fireproof?
So that's an interesting question, though, Kimberly. I mean, so they're putting a roof over, I think that, Mayor, did you say it's another layer over the existing, the
It's
roof?
not over, it's under.
Under.
It's a special coating underneath.
Okay.
So that if an ember would get onto the rubberized roof and penetrate it, instead of it then infiltrating the building, there's another protective layer that would protect it, waterproof it.
Okay,
So it's almost like a two-step thing.
So the cost then isn't, there's no additional cost for labor? It's just the material?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Huber?
So are we talking about going right from this meeting to pass this tonight?
We have to, we have no choice.
Okay, well, we've been through this now,
I
and been
know.
sued over it.
I brought that up too.
So what I would ask is the council vote, because we have an ordinance that is supposed to require the clerk to have an ordinance in place, so that people can look at exactly what we are doing, and it's supposed to be out there, available to everybody, so they can comment on it.
Do we have one?
And you then are supposed to then vote on it after discussion. If we're going to go right from this meeting to the next, if you could make a motion when this ordinance comes up to waive the procedural rules that require these things, then, and that gets into the minutes.
Okay.
It's a little,
I know.
Isn't it already out to the public anyway in the packet?
No, he's just talking about at the council meeting, waive the rules. There's other rules besides just taking it from, there's rules about bringing it from finance to council, that's what
That's
Mr.
what-
was talking
So
about.
I'm just saying, we have in the minutes an actual council vote on waiving these rules, so if anybody wants to challenge that, we voted on it, which we are allowed to do. I'm just suggesting it's a little cleaner to make it very clear.
Which one is that again on,
Besides
tonight?
that, Mr.
226,
Huber, it was
very
on the
last one.
council agenda that went out to everybody in the public as well. It was on both finance and council. So the public's been notified of that ahead of time.
Yeah, I'm less worried about the notice issue than the procedure is.
Okay, that's fine.
Craig, do you have any concern about us putting money into that project? Given the past history here?
That was a risk.
You mean the fast vote, the
Mhm.
referendum?
Yeah.
You know, that's something I didn't even think of.
We weren't supposed to expend any funds at that location.
It's been so long since I looked at the language of that referendum, I would actually have to look at that. I guess off the top of my head, I don't think this is for construction of a court project, but the language is kind of broad, so maybe I better look at that.
This is for fireworks, that's different, but I get it.
We are paying for part of their roof now on that building.
Yes, I see what you're saying, Jim.
For benefit for the city.
Well, I guess the question is, the issue is gonna hover around, what's the purpose of the use of the funds? Right, is the purpose for the construction of the courthouse? No. The purpose is for the protection because of the fireworks, to allow us to use fireworks. So that may be the difference that saves us, but that's what.
Wow, that's a,
That's
that's
why
a,
you're-
that's
Could
a,
go either
that's
way.
a,
Well, that's, it
I
could be a
mean,
winner, I
that's
mean,
like very
there's,
open
that's a,
to
that's a pinhole
interpretation.
you're going through.
that's the law.
Uh,
I mean, that's what the law does. I mean-
Greg
The
stood up.
referendum language, I can do that, fish it out, take.
Okay, we'll hold it until the end of the meeting, but I think it may focus on the purpose of the use of the funds. Check that out.
Thanks, Greg.
All right, we're gonna hold that to the end.
When you said you looked at other locations, was there anything other than, I know Penny
Well,
mentioned
we
it.
talked about the high school, we did talk about this too, because it's our parking deck, we control it. The problem with this is, because of the parade and the parade route, we have all the police, and safety forces from Spring Grove to the square and around the square. So now to divert other safety forces over around here to secure an area for the drop, as well as my nervousness of now, if you want to see it from the square, you're going to have to either go over the buildings on the north side of the 100 block of West Liberty or the south side to get over the square, whereas the other way, they're going up in the air, but you can see them over top of the buildings without shooting them across these other buildings.
How about Garfield? That playground? Far north edge.
Yeah, the only difference is that's a lower elevation, so we may get into the larger shell costs again, because you gotta get them high enough to get above the buildings. That's the advantage of the second floor of the parking decks, is you already have that elevation already.
Do you want to look at, we do have, the gym at Garfield has a lower level, but it's as high as the parking deck. And there's a door directly out onto the roof of Garfield's gym. You're only 100 yards down from the parking
Yeah,
deck.
no, I understand. You're saying there's a rooftop that it could be used for?
Possibly. I guess I'm just trying to think of some other option here that's close by that still gets you pretty close to the
Well,
same.
I guess the question is, what makes the fireworks is looking at the courthouse and watching them go over the courthouse. That's, if you look at them over some, it's like somebody else's yard.
That's the image everyone wants.
Yes.
Yeah.
I get it. I'm just trying to figure out if we're not allowed to do this and we still want to
How
have
can we
fireworks.
make it happen still?
Legally, I think, be positive, legally, I think we can get around it, because we're not using it to construct the
Hey, you
courthouse,
guys
we're
are
using
the
it
worst, not me.
to use for fireworks. That's the only purpose we're using it for.
Safety
Helping
purposes
construct a
for
roof.
fireworks.
That's a totally different thing, so I think
We
we
can-
have a great argument.
Write this any way we want, it doesn't mean you're not gonna get.
Oh, yeah, we
we're
can
not
get.
gonna get challenged.
If we get challenged, we get challenged, I mean,
Because we have a.
we have to make the decision for the community, we can't make the decision based upon if we're gonna get challenged or not.
Well, we do make some decisions based on that, actually.
Well, but I mean, this is a big, this is this is impacts.
I'm not against it, I just think we should hear what Greg says, because
Well, he'll
This
look
is
at
a consistent problematic issue with this project.
No, right. All right, well, let him find out, we can talk about it until we're blue in the face, but let him find out what he and his legal analysis does. 13-252 then, capital grant request, MCRC fitness room addition. Jansen?
Thank you, Mr. President. You might recall from a few years ago, we were considering a fitness room addition at the rec center. And due to COVID and some other complications with the project, it was essentially put off up until we were approached about a capital bill project opportunity for fiscal year 23-24. For those of you that haven't been to the rec center recently, we've had one of our 4 basketball courts has been used to house most of our cardio equipment at the rec center, which presents a lot of challenges during school basketball season in the wintertime when the facility is being used both by high school sports teams, baseball, softball, basketball, boys and girls, and our patrons. So typically in the past, the schools has used 2 to 3 basketball courts. So if they have to use 3, we have none available for our patrons. When looking at this project a year ago, it made absolutely no sense. But now, as our revenue is coming back, patrons are in every day, new memberships are being sold every day, we're kind of wanting to revisit this because I think it would be a very good project to set us up for spacing out our equipment for the long term. The original design is not something that we are married to, but we do have a budget established. We have passed legislation in the past authorizing the mayor to send a letter of intent to the school district. The school district also has this project on their radar. We haven't had the opportunity to talk with them at a board meeting yet. We did talk to Rec Advisory Committee about this. We found out today that our application isn't due until March 13th.
2 different dates. So we have March 11th to Representative Ray's office, and Mark Romanchuk, Senator Romanchuk's office wants our request by February 28th. So we do have a little extra time.
So we have a little bit more time than we originally thought when we submitted this. But what we're hoping to do, if it's a project that can be funded, we arrived at a budget estimate of $770,000 because the previous edition was $700,000. It was actually $800,000, which included $100,000 in new equipment. Where we're at with this potential project is we need to get in contact with the architect who originally designed it, as well as the architect that designed the facility back in early 2000, Fanning and Howie, because we found out that the fitness room was actually designed to be expanded through some research that I have done. So we want to talk with those architects and see if maybe we can meet in the middle. Maybe that budget number can come down. Look at our existing HVAC system. Can it be expanded by bumping out the windows and reduce the ceiling height? A bunch of elements need to be looked at. It also gives us an opportunity to look at installing new data drops for all of our fitness equipment that we purchased that was going to be running on Wi-Fi. To have those hardwired, we could also get new electrical installed exactly where we need it to have our equipment spaced out. So we feel like, if we can apply for this and get 50% of it funded, we would be in a really good spot with regard to placement of our fitness equipment and also be able to free up our 4 basketball courts. So the intent of the project has changed from designing a new section of the rec center to trying to utilize the space that we have for our existing equipment and bumping it out to reasonable distances that are going to be with us here for a while.
So we're looking, you just want, I guess, a vote to do the capital grant request to see if we can get the money to do it. Make
Correct.
a determination if we're going
We do have the matching funds in our carry forward. In 2018, the budget ordinance was amended to include the funding for the project. We do have a little bit of money in architectural fees that were paid to Bob Arnold. But as we look to revisit that, there might be some design costs that we'll have to front. But, yeah, we're asking for approval to submit this project, which we feel is pretty strong because it's got collaborations with the school district, the city, the Cleveland Clinic, and a lot of real benefits. The other thing that also helps is that our rec center isn't eligible for a lot of ARP funds at this point, so it would be a capital project. I think we would benefit from.
I think we had this one on 2 years ago as part of council's consideration, but then we had like 8 or 10 different projects, and then you ranked them, and we submitted the top 4, and this one wasn't in that top 4, so.
Well, I think, does anybody have a problem trying to apply for the grant? I mean, I guess, I don't know why we wouldn't want to try to do
I
that.
think we get a grant, yeah, I agree. Apply for it.
Yeah, it completely changed our outlook on, from the get-go, it was, why would we buy an addition when we need to invest in buying new equipment, and we have a lot of needs at the facility. But when you add in the opportunity to get a grant, I think it'd be in our best interest.
I don't have a problem with that, do you?
No, I'm gonna abstain only because my employer owns the building, so.
Okay. No, I think it's hey, if there's a grant available, a capital grant, let's see you. I mean, if you don't apply for it, you're never gonna have a chance to get it.
Sure.
And then we'll have to revisit it if we get the grant, and then we have to make a determination. I know the rec center has been saving the money up over the years to pay for it, but then the question is, what is the plan of how that's gonna impact the operational aspect of the rec center with potential new memberships that'll help, the goal is to centers, because usually they're not. But if you don't keep providing new things to people, new people are gonna join.
Yeah.
They go somewhere else.
But I like the idea, Jansen, if it can be expanded as is, because there was a lot of issues and questions about the roof lines and everything. So if they already had an idea where they could expand it and that would work, that might be better for everybody involved too.
Yeah, we just need some time to go through that and talk to the right people.
All right, is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second?
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Huber?
You
Oh,
have
one
One
abstention.
abstention.
Any abstentions?
Abstain.
Mr. Huber, you're back. Did you look at it?
I did, when I think of the first referendum, I always think of it in terms of the issue of demolition, because that was what was mainly at issue. But that referendum also includes a language or a couple words that say any construction activity. So if we expend funds for any construction activity at the courthouse, we are in violation of this referendum. So probably paying the county for the roof would be considered to be a violation of this referendum.
Let me ask you another question. What if we had to spend any money to help fix the parking deck? Because that's part of their referendum too.
Well, we own the parking deck.
But we can't spend any money because if I remember, the referendum said at this block,
That block, yeah.
you can't spend any money. So if we had to fix the parking deck, we wouldn't be able to spend any money to fix the parking deck?
Well, they define it as any of the buildings identified as address 72 through 99 Public Square. I don't think we have an address on that parking deck, and it's our parking deck.
Well, what is the building address of the new courthouse? Is it one of those?
Same as the old
I don't know if it's
courthouse
been assigned an address.
Right, I meant-
See, they covered it two ways.
I
They
guess it is.
identify it as the Medina County Courthouse, which is very broad.
Mhm.
And
Go right down there.
then they say, any structure located on the east side of Medina Public Square but not limited to 72 through 99 Public Square.
That would include the parking.
That would include the parking deck then.
Well, I suppose you might try to make that argument, but I don't think that holds up when we own it.
Well, right, I mean, I guess the question is though, this money's not being used to aid the construction of it because they're gonna still construct the roof. This is just changing the material used so we could use our parking deck.
Well, you're welcome to read this, but the way I read it, can't expend any resource for construction activity at the Medina County Courthouse.
I see you reaching there. I'm behind you, but I think it just might
Yes,
be.
Bill?
So at what point can we spend money?
Never.
It was 5 years, I believe.
Was it 5 years?
5 years.
How long has it been since then? A
Well,
year?
when we,
Year.
it's
For
been
4
a
years.
year, right?
4 years.
Yeah, 4 years left.
That was 2020 when it was passed.
What if we committed something that wasn't money?
It says resource.
Resource.
I was gonna say, like what, sweat equity? Are you gonna put the roof
No,
up?
I was thinking of across the street, I guess. I mean, it seemed like you could work out something else and have it not go into effect until 5 years from now, and that would help to cover, it's, because truthfully, it's an insignificant amount of money
It is.
in a way from our budget, from wherever you get it, and there must be a way that you could work around this.
Okay, yeah, let's put some common sense to it. The people.
What, do you want me to quit talking?
These people who want to stop this, the people who put the stops to this,
Oh, he's getting me.
are trying to waste our money and ruin our community, period. All right? People come to Medina on Christmas and Candlelight Walk to see these fireworks. We're expending this money for the fireworks. And I dare anybody to argue that they would rather see us not spend this money and ruin the fireworks because of that ordinance. Because I know for a fact that nobody ever in their wildest imagination thought that this would stop the fireworks. So I say, go for it.
Why are you looking
And
at
let's
me?
take and let's take them on. Let's take them on. How many lawsuits have they filed and lost against us?
One more today, I believe.
Okay, right, one more today. So let's just do it.
But
Period.
that language is really pretty specific. I mean,
Right.
there's not any
But
light.
this is for the community. This is for the fireworks for the community. This isn't to stop some judge from doing her own thing. This is for the beauty of the community, why people come here. Let's do it.
Could you look at somebody else for a moment?
No,
He's looking at me too.
I looked at her, I looked at Jim.
He did. He tried to
I'd
make
look
it
at Eric, but that'd be a little funny.
I mean, we could also start a Save the Fireworks campaign.
Yeah, we could.
John, what if we go back to the idea that we go to the county and say, we're all part of the county, this benefits everybody,
I don't,
You gotta be tomorrow, though.
you know?
well, they just have to make the decision that they're gonna do it, that's all.
I mean, it's $40,000. I mean,
Well, it's probably 30.
okay, it's $30,000.
But still.
It's not even the cost of a vehicle.
Right.
What kind of fancy car are you driving?
Another
Police car, I mean, something to buy. It's not
Mr.
like-
Ward's $75,000 investment to the Christmas lights to the city of Medina to approve.
I don't know if that's,
Can we get a delayed payment plan with the county?
Fireworks
We
and-
can
5
pay them-
years?
We can pay them in 4
I
years?
don't know if that would work. I don't think that would work.
I think it was very specific about this.
This is tricky. This is very tricky.
Let's table it for right now.
Okay, well, I don't think we have,
I'll work with the school and see what we can do to find an alternate location. In the meantime, Mr. Huber will talk
What if we got the
to
money?
his legal folks and see.
okay.
And I guess maybe we do have a conversation with the county, could you do this for the greater good of the whole county? It's not just Medina that benefits from this.
Well, I get it, I get it.
Tired of
Wait,
these lawyers.
yes, who's pointing at who?
Fire chief.
Fire chief, okay.
The way I just learned about this today, but As I understand it, this was the county's preference to have the coating put on the roof, so they didn't have to worry about it, but we believe that, so there are a couple of requirements in the fire code. One of them is that the structure needs to be stable enough to launch them. Since we're launching them from the parking deck, that part is covered. Any of the building rooftops that are exposed in the fallout area or in the area that's determined by the plan would need to be protected. So it's not always, and in fact, it's unusual for a rooftop to be protected in this way. We would protect it with other means. We could pre-wet the roof, put firemen out there with extinguishers. I'm just throwing this out there. If the county was willing to consider some alternatives, I would think that the fire department could meet their needs if their concern is damage to the roof or a fire.
Okay, all right, well, let's look into that, and then we can make a determination. I guess there's many options and discussions we had. Kimberly, you had one of them?
The only other thought, just to piggyback on the fire chief's ideas, I just was curious with the technology that's out there, is there some sort of rollout mat?
See, I just said that like 20 minutes ago.
Mat that, instead of spending 30 or 40,000, maybe we could buy this other.
Well, I think, first of all, the fireworks that lit off the roofs, they're lit off of roofs all over the country, and they're designed in such a way that they don't cause fires. That's, I think, the launching area is a concrete launching area, but once they're launched, I think they're designed that they don't stay hot.
There are precautions
Right.
in manufacturing, but I think
They are
there's
still
still the
hard.
potential.
If one goes awry, right, you're gonna have an issue, but usually when they fall, by the time they land, they're not hot.
So,
If they're set off properly, yes, okay. All right, so let's move on, and Mayor, if you could check, and then with Mr. Huber can check with his legal folks, we can come up with an answer, hopefully. 21-253, MCRC account number changes for ARP funds.
I'll take it.
Mr. Jensen?
Thank you. So we had a number of projects that we began or started working on earlier this year that have not actually been completed at this point. And we brought up the question that all of these projects are geared towards improving our front entrance as well as addressing COVID concerns. Specifically, the flooring in our community room A, which is now being used as a studio instead of a meeting room, more of a multi-purpose type room. So we reached out to Walter and Haverfield, and they had agreed that these projects were approved to use ARP funds. So we're requesting consideration be given to allow us to change the account numbers. We've had a number of grant requests at the rec not come through lately, and it would substantially help as we were planning on using carry forward.
Any questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 21-254, state contract purchase weight equipment for MCRC. Jansen?
This is the second phase of our equipment replacement project. You might recall, a few months ago, we purchased new treadmills. This is all of our selectorized equipment that's up front. Our current equipment is the same age as the facility. Cybex equipment, it's definitely served its useful life through good maintenance over the years. We identified $80,000 for this project. Over the last couple of weeks, Christy and fitness room attendant and our program manager visited 5 facilities to look at various types of equipment that's on state contract or cooperative purchasing programs. We were happy with both Matrix and the Nautilus line that was included. Matrix is on SDS contract, and the price that we were quoted was priced very competitively. It's actually less than state contract, and they offered us $7,000 for trade-in. for the items that are listed on the RCA. We did purchase Matrix treadmills a few months ago on the same contract, and the contract was approved by Greg. It's also the same contract for this purchase. The price was about $10,000 difference between the two, so we feel like this is going to set us up good in the future. This equipment also has the ability to be connected. It has RFID tags on it, has QR codes on it, where you can scan it with your phone and show you demo videos, so it should help with staffing. Because if you have your phone, you can click it, watch a video, and use it, and not have to talk to anybody in the facility. It also has the capability to get consoles on it to monitor your reps, so on and so forth. So it aligns with bringing technology in to the facility. I thank Christy and the staff for putting in the effort to find this and get a good price for us.
Questions?
Good job, dear. Well done.
Move to approve with the emergency clause.
Second, including emergency clause?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 21-255, amend and replace MCRC rental rates. Chancellor, you're on a
All
roll.
right, I'm going to start with this one, then turn it over to Christy. So we've been not doing rentals for quite some time now. We no longer have a rental coordinator, and we do not anticipate hiring a rental coordinator in the future. So we're trying to look at ways to simplify our rental rates so that they can be done online, as well as completed by one of our attendants at the front desk. This will enable us to simplify and save on salaries, as well as hopefully be able to just make the experience better for people who are trying to find out what they can and can't do at the facility by having it on our sportsman program. So we're looking to replace and repeal a variety of different ordinances. The original one was from 2002. There was ordinance in 2007 that is a good portion of our current rate structure. And then ordinance that was done in 2010 added a bunch of additional options that we do want to still apply with this change. Christy and our office administrator looked at a lot of this info. I'm going to turn it over here in a second, but we did make sure that if we get this pricing structure approved, that it is compatible to be put into our computerized program and work as almost like a point of sale. So, do you want to explain?
Yeah, my rationale here.
Yeah.
We originally started with 3 different rate structures in 2002, and many of those rates still apply. We have not increased rates since 2002. We did simplify it in 2007 and took out one of the rate options for universal residents. Now we just have member and non-member and weekday and weekend rates, and those are just too many parameters for our online software to handle. So we would like to go to just a flat rate, same rate weekdays and weekends. We feel that it's more important to get those rooms rented out and to be able to start having party packages again than it is to be deciding who's a member and who's not a member and all those kinds of questions that a rental coordinator would normally ask. So we did a comparison of several area recreation centers and other facilities that do rentals like ours, and we found that all of our member rates were far too low and all of our non-member rates were far too high. So we met in the middle with those, and we'd like to present those as the rates you see here. It will simplify the entire process greatly. The bottom section down there is our party packages. In the past, we had several party packages that we no longer offer. We used to do balloons and decorations and all kinds of things like that, and we don't have the staff to do it, and there's a helium shortage, so we don't do that. Right now, people, when they have their birthday parties, they come in, they decorate, they do their thing, and they leave. So we're simplifying it to just having 2 or 3 party options. The first section is mostly meeting rooms, and the second is the party options, and just making it as easy as possible for people to go online, see what time slots we have available, register themselves, pay online, and we set them up in the mornings. So that's the goal.
Makes sense.
Question? Paul?
I do have one question. In the inflatable package, party package with the commons, you say $310, and is that a typo? Should that be
Yeah, that
300?
should be 300, yeah, just 100.
There's two clerical errors that I neglected to mention. That is one of them. And then the other is the first section. It says courts 1 through 4. It's actually courts 1 through 3.
Oh, okay.
Okay, other questions?
Very good job. Thanks for all the hard work.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 21-256, amend 3102E pay scale for lifeguards and WSI instructors.
Yeah, I'll start with this, and Christie has some information. So we've, as you know, we've experienced lifeguard issues for quite some time now, not just this year. Our entry-level lifeguard, right now it's at an RC 14, which has basically been absorbed by the minimum wage increase. And we are pretty fortunate. There's a lot of facilities out there that have to close on a regular basis. We've only had to close a handful of times, but it is getting considerably worse, faster than we had anticipated. So much so that our aquatics manager is quite regularly sitting in a lifeguard chair. And with starting to do rentals and bringing those back to the facility, we're wanting to hopefully address the problem, because a lot of the draw for the birthday parties is the pool. And if we don't have lifeguards, we can't have birthday parties. And we're hoping to address that by moving them up the pay scale from essentially starting at minimum wage to starting at $10.24 an hour, and giving the aquatics manager the ability to place individuals who might come to us with previous experience or certifications higher in the pay scale, as well as when the ordinance becomes effective, we have requested that our current employees be considered for merit increase to hopefully be able to retain the individuals that we do have. There's a number of rec centers, facilities, Cleveland Metro Parks that we're competing with that already are starting lifeguards considerably higher than we are. We're hoping this will help alleviate some of our issues immediately. One thing that we didn't put in the request that some other communities are starting to do is shift premium to get lifeguards to sign up for early morning hours, or if they're having birthday parties, to be able to get those guards to come in to facilitate those events and times. We didn't put it in this request, but we are looking at that. Christie has some information to share about the history in the last year, where we're at with lifeguards.
Yes, we started to address this in 2018 when we increased the lifeguard rate up to $9.46, where it currently is. The minimum wage will be $9.30 after the first of the year, so it's only a 16-cent difference for people who have to have a certification. So that's why we need to pursue this right away. So far this year, we've lost 21 guards to resignations. The majority of them are going to other jobs that are outside of lifeguarding. So we need to be competitive, not just with other guards, but with all the other stores in the area. We did a survey of all of the area recreation centers and metro parks and all of the swimming facilities, and the average lifeguard rate starting is around $11 an hour. So we wanted to be at least comparable with that. This change would put us starting at $10.24 and go all the way up to $11.56, so that we have a range in there to compete. I think that'll help us a lot. It'll help us retain some of the guards we have that are being lured away by other jobs. So it is affecting our parties. We had to turn down a birthday party this coming weekend because we don't have enough lifeguards. The pool manager and all of our veteran guards that we're calling back that have been gone for years, we're recertifying them, doing anything, we're begging people to work right now. So we really need to address it. This change in pay rate would cost us about $39,000 a year. But I feel like we make probably $20,000 to $30,000 in rentals. So I think we need to have that as a work. We put this money into this play feature for gearing up for families, and we need to be able to serve them.
Questions? No?
And my only comment would be is, and I would anticipate that it probably won't be that much longer before you'll have to revisit that, because, I mean, look at some of the fast food restaurants, what they're starting at now is comparable, if not more, so, thank you.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 21-257, consent legislation with ODOT for sign replacement project. Patrick?
Thank you. ODOT is going to be completing a sign replacement project on State Route 3 through the city next summer. We signed these before, consent legislation basically authorizing them to work with the city. I am asking for the emergency clause. We got this, I believe, on December 2nd. We initially wanted to return by first of the year. We did tell them we wouldn't be able to do that. We could pass with the emergency clause at the first January meeting.
Questions?
Move to approve with the emergency clause.
Second, including the emergency clause?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 21-258, amend ordinance 157, 2043, 21, account corrections.
This is on the, getting the parking deck up and running, but ties into the TIF, because we also have that storm sewer project to do with it. And we didn't have all the accounts, we weren't sure where everything was coming from, and we have to get it done before the end of the year so that it's in the right place when they do the audit for this year. And then the next two are the advances that are ultimately gonna get us there. And the way this is gonna work is, there's gonna be an advance from the general fund to the TIF fund. We're gonna pay for this stuff, we've already done it, but functionally. Then, going forward, as we collect money from the TIF, we will repay the general fund for that advance. And it's important that we have all this straight in the current year, because it's gonna take many, many years to repay that entire advance. So when we get to 25 years from now, we're making the final payment on this, it's very likely none of us are gonna be here. And some future auditor is gonna look at some future mayor and finance director, and what are you doing here? And it's, by having the advance, that's the demonstration that we're repaying a legitimate expenditure. We do that this year, and then every year thereafter, we just pay a little bit of it down until it's gone. Because 25 years from now, nobody's gonna remember what we spent the money for, you know, what we were doing or whatever. It's just, we're repaying the advance that exists. Yeah.
Two questions. First, have we received any money in the TIF at all?
We did get, and I'm sorry, I can't tell you off the top of my head how much it was. We did get a little bit. The TIF, and so I think everybody kind of knows this, but it's tax increment financing, so the increase in the taxes goes into this fund. There isn't much yet, because a lot of the buildings that are anticipated to be built haven't been built yet, so there's no incremental increased tax for those, but there are some, because the property over this way, right, the Raymond building, it does exist. But you only have a small portion of it, so we do have a little bit, so we can start paying this off, but we won't really see real money until the other project.
Okay, wait, how much is the Raymond building? Do we receive? We received the
So
pretty
the
good stuff.
first payment from the Raymond building, I'm going off the top of my head here, I think was $19,000, but that was like picking up, you know, because it took a while to get all the paperwork together, and then the second payment came in. So that payment was a direct check from the county auditor directly to us, and then we gave it to Keith for Lori to process. The second payment, the second TIF payment came in with their apportionment list, and so then Lori had to break that out. And I think that payment was like $43,000. And then out of that, we have to pull out the portion that's due to the schools. So Lori did, there's a spreadsheet and formula, and she had to look up the tax rates for the 2019 tax year and the 2020 tax year and set all that up. So to answer Councilman Rose's question, yes, we are receiving TIF payments, and as of right now, this is just on Dr. Raymond's project.
Okay.
It'll be a lot more when the
Yes.
Liberty View
Right.
is done. And
Right,
then we'll
right,
be
I
able to
realize
start
that, so we
paying
are realizing something
Mhm.
from the TIF, and that's a good thing, that's a great thing. And then you mentioned that this is gonna be an advance, like I know we've advanced money for other things, where every year we have to roll it again?
We will
Is this
have to-
something we're gonna have to do every year?
We will have to roll it every year, but what we will do functionally again is, whatever those collections are, so let's say there's $1 million out, if we get 50,000, then we're gonna roll 950.
Right.
And the next year you get 50, you'll roll 900, and the rest of it will just be repaid, and then
And
eventually it'll go.
And you're gonna remember to do that?
Right, because
Or
we
whoever
do,
you
we
are.
do, we do, I have it on a calendar
Dang.
that's actually not my calendar, it's a finance department calendar.
That's what I meant, right.
There's an
Okay.
annual roll of it outstanding advances, and then so, yeah, whoever's there will get that pop-up and say,
All right, thank you.
because this will take a lot longer than I'm gonna be here.
Well, we also have to do an annual report to the state. So it's important that we track all that internally, what the revenues are, what the expenses are relative to the TIF.
Thank you.
Okay, move to approve with the emergency clause.
Second including emergency clause.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 21-259, advance request for TIF fund.
This is,
You just talked about that.
Move to approve with the emergency clause.
Second including emergency clause.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 21-260, another transfer request for the TIF fund.
Move to approve with the emergency clause.
Second including emergency clause.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 21-261, budget amendments. We have 2021-046. Keith, a lot of things on there.
this is a few different things, it's the transfers and so on that we talked about, and then there's some closing up some negatives beyond that.
Any questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And 2021-48,
This is from the court.
the court, Cindy. You know anything about this?
So I know.
Okay, didn't know anything about it, sorry.
All right, looks like
It's
this
that
salaries,
time of
raise,
year.
holidays, time, retirement, hospitalization, 48,000 retransfers internally, so.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. American Rescue Plan Project update. This is Barbara, who's giving the update?
Mayor, did you bring it? We talked about most of them. We talked about the property, the changes for the rec center. I think those, then some of the figures have been updated. You had asked previously to have more accurate figures for these projects, so you'll see they're labeled new, so those, they're either new or the totals have been revised, so they're more accurate.
So it's an ongoing process until we get the final numbers.
So what I asked Barbara to do is to keep you guys up to speed individually. We'll still bring each of the projects to you, but it's in motion. So as we have significant changes, which these two are, one's 265,000, the other's 26,000, that we just want to keep you up to speed, make sure, if somebody or the majority of council says, well, we're not interested in that anyway, so don't waste any more time on that one, then we'll just pull it off.
Sure.
We are a little over for the first tranche, but not for the total at all, not even close.
Right. Understood. All right, any questions on that? All right. Keep us informed.
Yes, sir.
24 is 21-263 MOU between the city and 5990 Branch Road LLC. A discussion. Kimberly?
Thank you, Mr. President. So at the last Finance Committee meeting, when we were talking about the road improvements to Branch Road for Project Expert Crane, you mentioned that, so it's going to be a cost-sharing agreement between the city and the company for road improvements, the sanitary sewer, water lines, fittings, hydrants, storm sewers, engineering, all that. And so the company had agreed to the installation of the water, or extension of the water line, hydrants, fittings, and the sanitary sewer. And then you had mentioned that we probably need to have some sort of agreement or MOU. So the attorney that's representing the company for this project is Marty Kerr, could not be here this evening, but he did the first draft of the MOU, which is in your packet, and I know you and I talked about it, and you had some comments, and so,
And you answered them already.
yes, I did, and I didn't know if Mr. Huber has had time to review or have any thoughts on this, but company is here. I don't know if you gentlemen had anything else you wanted to add, or?
Well, Mr. Huber has a comment. I guess the MOU idea is fine, and I think we talked about a few of the issues, and I think all the issues are something we can work through. And I think you've already spoken with the attorney, or did you speak with the company too, both?
The company's attorney, Marty Kerr.
And some of those things have already been changed, but Mr. Huber, do you have?
So the only question I had is, we don't know what this cost is going to be until Patrick has an opportunity to put the pen to the paper and design the project, and we figure out what the total cost is. So the figure of $350,000 is kind of pulled out of the air as a guess, and without any knowledge as to what this is actually going to cost. I'm a little leery of committing to a number if we don't know. I mean, I asked Patrick, and he said, well, it might work. I don't know if they're gonna commit to these items, you could just list, we're gonna pay for these items, period, whatever that cost is, as opposed to putting a number in. And Kimberly had a list of what the company's agreeing to, so, but we really don't know what this number's gonna be, and that's, once you put this on a piece of paper, believe me, everybody's gonna be stuck on that number. So we probably ought to have, if we're gonna use a number method, we need to know what that is with some greater clarity.
Well, I think what we talked about was having the installation being done, of course, the city advanced the cost and do the installation, and then there'd be an assessment paid back over 10 years of the costs associated with the installation. And that sounds workable. Again, I know there's a little trepidation on the company side because they don't know what the number is, but Patrick, I mean, you gotta be able to have an idea, because we've put in water lines and sewer lines in the past. I mean, there's gotta be a per foot cost to give a ballpark so that they're somewhat comfortable. I get it, we don't understand, we don't know what the material costs are gonna be because it fluctuates day to day, but there has to be somewhat of a range, and I understand that we can't commit to that, a firm number, because we're not gonna know, and I know that puts the company in a little bit of, well, what's that number gonna be? But I guess the only thing we can say is it'll be paid over 10 years, whatever it is. I mean, that's, we can commit to that. That's something, I think we all agree to do that.
So I was wondering, when I looked at this, so I'm clear, if the company's committing to pay for the sanitary or the water line or whatever the list is that they're paying for, just list those out as to what they're paying for and state in the contract, we will pay for this, the sanitary, the water line, if we're doing this before we know what the numbers are. Otherwise, we probably need to wait till we know what the numbers are.
And I think the company is trying to make a decision to move forward on the closing of the property. So-
Well, let me ask the company, are you concerned that the city won't do something, or are you concerned that you just don't know what the cost is associated with the installation and the 10-year period of payback may not work for you? What is your concern?
Mr. President, we have two concerns. Primary concern is timing. We need to get the property closed, and we need to get our building on order, because nothing's getting done quicker, it's just taking longer and longer and longer. That's the primary concern. The other concern is we're amortizing the cost of the work for the water and for the sanitary sewer into the purchase price of the property.
Okay.
At a certain point in time, it makes no sense to buy an undeveloped piece of property if we're gonna spend more for that than we would if we would've went out and bought a developed piece of property.
Gotcha. So I guess the question would be, Patrick has done this enough, I mean, can you give them the ballpark range so they can base their purchase price based upon maybe your high-end estimate? I know that we can't guarantee that,
Understood.
but he's been doing it enough where maybe he could do that to say, if you guys did this, this is what the highest.
That's kind of how we came up with this number. I can look at it again, maybe get a little sharper, but these are planning level estimates. It's not the detailed final. You won't know until you bid it. You actually, even when we finish the plans, we'll have a decent idea, but
Right.
you don't know until you actually get a contract.
But I understand what they're saying, they gotta come up with a number so that they're comfortable with it, of what the building's gonna cost, and what the, you know, what the development costs are gonna be associated with the construction of the facility.
Yeah, we have to give our best estimate.
And I think that you can feel comfortable on council sitting here tonight, and we talked about before, we have no problem spreading that out over 10 years. We'll front the cost for that because we want you here. And we'll try to aid in any way we can to help you. And I guess that's what we're trying to figure out. What do you need from us to make you feel comfortable?
So, Mr. President, something else has come up into this, and I hate to throw a wrench into the works.
Okay.
When we were here last, Patrick said he needed about 6 months to finish the plans in order to offer bid, okay?
Okay.
In my last meeting with our builder, our 52-week delivery turned into 20-week delivery
Oh.
on the building. Yeah.
Wow.
What's the difference?
That's a good problem.
So it's good, but it's bad, because now I not only need that pricing on that infrastructure, but I need that infrastructure.
Right.
I can't wait 6 months just to get a plan to go out for bid, et cetera, et cetera.
So you need it like in 3 months, then you can go out to bid to get it done simultaneously with the construction of the building, which would still probably be a year. I mean, delivery of the materials will be 5 months.
20 weeks, right, which
And
would
then-
put us I think in May or something.
Right, and then the construction of the building, you're probably thinking fall, so everything has to be done by next fall.
Right, so we met with our civil engineers, Albers and Rice. What they threw on the table was if we wanted to take the sanitary sewer and the water with the hydrants private, we pay for it ourselves, they do the planning, they submit it to the city for approval, we pay for it ourselves, and we work out some type of an agreement where we turn that over to you, you own it, and then we just get some residual when people tie into it down the road. And we're open for either. We're just trying to move forward.
Well, I guess, Patrick?
That would be similar to like a developer doing a subdivision. You know, we don't get involved with, we inspect it, but they do all the construction. And then when they're done, the council accepts the final plat and it becomes ours, our property. So it'd kind of be similar to that. The one, you know, roadway is a part of this. We determined we needed to build up the roadway because it just can't handle the expected loads. So I don't know, they're talking just the utilities and not the roadway, we still do that. Somehow we have to coordinate that, I guess.
Well, I guess the question is too, the roadway, were you still talking 6 months to design the utility facility improvement plus the roadway, or is it, there are different timelines?
Typically, you do it all together. I mean, we could probably trim that down a little bit.
What do you, when you say a little bit, is that a day, an hour, 2 days? What, I mean,
No, yeah, I mean, we could probably, it's like 4 months maybe.
4 months to get the
How about
design.
if we contracted it out?
Thank you. I was gonna ask that question.
I'd have to find out. I don't know the backlog of work.
I mean, do you contract out, you have to bid the contract out, or is it one of those
Yeah.
specialized services that you go to a specific firm to bid, to do the work?
You're talking about the design or the construction?
The design, because they're just talked about, their people could design it.
Yeah.
And then once they design it, can we use their design to bid it out?
I suppose we could. I don't know if we've ever done that before, but we probably could, yeah.
Because they did have some urgency to design it. I mean, as long as they followed our specifications or whatever the county requires for the sanitary and we require for the other utilities, then once it's designed, then we take their drawings and bid it out.
Yeah,
Is that workable?
that would be workable, okay.
Does that work for you guys? I mean, that gets your timeline.
Sir, at this point, I believe it works for us. I'd like to meet with Albers
Sure,
and Rice
sure.
and
See if
throw
they-
in the road and the storm sewer system, because I didn't have that in there.
To see how they can design that, and if they
Right.
could, and I guess the question is, how do you work that out for payment-wise? I guess, would that cost be rolled into the cost of the whole project then, as we talked about, and paid over 10 years?
Yeah, well, we bid, we do a unit price, so we'd be able to tell specifically how much the water line costs, the sanitary sewer, and the roadway. That's all easily.
So could you guys work that out to figure, because I hear two things happening here. I hear the cost of the design, and I hear the bidding out of the construction cost. So are we wrapping those two together, or what are we doing? How does that work?
I think we need to figure that out.
Okay.
Well, it almost sounds to me that if the Doty family is going to get a quote from Albers and Rice for the water, the sanitary sewer, and they're gonna do that themselves, that portion would be completely separate from what we're doing on the road improvements, except for those two entities would have to coordinate.
I got you.
If they're gonna pay for that themselves.
Well, that's what I was asking, if that cost associated with the design of those specific features could be paid over 10 years, meaning we advance it. I don't know if that's possible or not, but if we did it ourselves, we would be rolling that into the cost of paying it over 10 years. So my question was, if his civil engineering firm does the design, and they say, well, this costs $20,000, does that cost get spread over 10, do we advance that cost then related to that design feature only and pay over 20 years, or do we have to bid that out to get the design? I think it's a specialized service,
Yeah.
but I don't know, it's up to Mr. Huber.
So it sounds like then maybe you guys are just trying to design it, but we would still bid your design for the construction, or do you want them to design it and construct it?
That was one of the options Mr. President brought up.
Okay.
When we talked to Albers and Rice this week, or last week, what they brought up is that they would design the sanitary sewer, the water, the hydrants, and we would put it in at our cost,
Okay.
okay, and then just turn it over to the city with some type of reimbursement on tie-ins down the road.
Right, right.
We did not talk about the road or the storm sewer. Now, the one thing I'd like to mention about the road is, the road right now will hang, I mean, we're in construction for a year, so I don't know if we need the road done right now. That would be more of
There might be some benefit to holding the road off until they're done with their construction. And since we're gonna be improving the road, it doesn't matter if it gets beat up a little bit. Once they're done, then we do the road. And
Exactly.
Well, that has to be coordinated in a timing perspective, of course. Because there's gonna be, the road will be shut down while they tear it up and repave it for a period of time.
Yeah.
And that'll cause them, the question is, when are they gonna be open?
Down completely, we still have residents there that need to get in and out.
Right, we'd have to do it lane by lane, like we do.
Oh, half and half.
Yeah, yeah. So Patrick, how about two things? One is, you check with some other engineering firms to see if we, just because our office can only handle so much work, if we farmed it out, could they meet this 3 month? Is the deadline we're looking at?
They said the building would be delivered in 20 weeks. They said they would want to break ground around April, depending upon weather.
Okay. 3 to 4 months.
Right.
That's the first question. The other is, in your discussions with their civil engineer, is there a way we can blend our two processes and try to get this thing done within their time constraints? We can do that?
Yeah, I think there's an option. Like I said, that's the way you do it when you're doing like a residential development.
Right.
They design it, they build it, we inspect it, of course. But,
Yes.
So, yeah, it's been done a lot in the past.
But right now, as I understand Mr. Doty, he's not talking about building it, he's talking about paying them to design and engineer it,
And
not construct it.
And constructed. sir.
And construct it?
Yes,
Okay.
Mr. Mayor. yeah.
But not the roadway?
We looked at the partition that we discussed earlier, which
Yes.
was the city would undertake the road development
Right.
and the storm sewer.
Mhm.
We
Yes.
would take the sanitary sewer and the water.
Right.
And that's when we presented that to Albers and Rice,
Mhm.
that's when they brought up their idea of them doing that part of it, or somebody like them.
Okay.
I mean, we don't have any allegiance to Albers and Rice.
Right.
And then the city doing the roadway in their own time frame.
Well, this way, we can get a price to contract it out, you can get a price from your civil engineer to see where we're getting the best deal and the shortest time frame to keep you on schedule, and see what we have to do to make it happen.
Yes, sir.
Sounds good.
Is that
And I think
something-
council, again, I mean, you have to just figure out the numbers, I guess, but I
Right.
think all of us here
Conceptually.
are conceptually okay with what we're planning on, the assessment back, the whatever, whether it be you construct it and then the tap-in fees pay you back, or we construct it and pay it over 10 years. I think, everyone in council is okay with any of those ideas, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so
Thank you, Mr. President.
I think you have our support, so
Absolutely.
I don't think there's any problem with that.
So we'll just have to go through this process here.
Mhm.
We're
What
gonna
the
bring
mayor
the
just
MOU
mentioned.
back, and
Yeah.
may or may not need it, or maybe it needs a.
Well, yeah,
modified
because what
version of
we
it.
talked about two different things.
Yes.
Totally different now.
Yes.
That one, you might need it, and one you don't need it, so you have to,
Just one more little update about the project, so, and I'm not sure, I'll have to double check on the timing for the actual road improvements in the storm sewer. So we're chasing down some grant funding through Jobs Ohio and through ODOT. And Jobs Ohio right now has put an offer of $85,000 on the table, but I don't know if there's, like, what the timing is. So depending on when we have to go into an agreement with them to accept that money, if we're going to accept it, there may be some strings attached on timing, so I'll find out from
Okay.
Patrick.
well, that's helpful.
Yeah, and I'm still waiting to hear back from ODOT Jobs and Commerce for some additional funding
Okay,
with
so
the city's portion.
do you need anything else from us? What do you need from council or?
Sir, I think at this point, I'll have a meeting with Albers and Rice. I'll start talking to them about the conversations tonight. I'm sure you know those guys?
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. And it'll probably be Greg Albers who reaches out to you, and then we'll see if we can get a merger of some type going,
Okay.
where we're all both on the same track.
Okay. Well, we just want to assure you that we'll help in any way we can.
Thank you.
And it seems like we're flexible enough to go whatever direction you want to go.
Thank you.
So I think that, we're open to that, so.
Appreciate that.
Because we understand the development, I mean, we want the development to happen. It's only good things can
Yeah.
happen, so we're trying to figure the best way to do it. So, whatever way that is, we'll work with you on it, for sure.
And Mr. President, we're doing the same thing.
Okay.
We're
Yeah,
anxious to
no
get it
problem.
going and
Yeah,
Thank you.
okay, we appreciate it. All right, I guess what we have now is we have to go to executive session. So, is there anything else to come before finance before we do
So,
that?
Mr. President, so just to clarify, so on council's agenda this evening, we had that resolution on there for Patrick to move forward with sort of that design stuff, so are we still gonna do that then?
Well, that has a good question because now it changed. So I guess I don't know, I mean, we could push a resolution, but I don't know what it would mean because it could be a whole different program that we just talked about.
It was just authorizing Patrick to move forward with design.
I don't think it includes the language after that. I think it just supports the project.
Yeah, I think it just supports the project. I mean, we could still pass it to support the project. I don't think there's any problem with that. I think they would feel fine
Yeah,
with
if
it.
we could still just do that, that way,
They have it?
yes. Because
Yeah.
I think you, is it, don't you have like a month left to
January
finalize?
19th is our deadline on that. We have to close by.
Well, I mean, we're still all sitting here telling you what we're gonna do. I mean,
Understood.
we're pretty, when we say something, we pretty much do it. At least we do. I mean, I don't know who else does.
Are we doing, I have in my email, the RCA I put in the finance packet, but it's not on the agenda, and then it also says special legislation, so did you decide to put it in special legislation?
Yeah, because
first?
you're gonna change the law. We have to,
So it has to go through special
Yes.
legislation, even though it's referring back to Ohio Revised Code?
right.
Okay.
Because there might be other ones we wanna add to it.
Well, that's my project I've been doing. If any of you would like to help, I have the entire codified ordinance book, and I've been going through and finding all the ones that,
Because I think if we're gonna
Are
do one,
outdated.
we could probably do a bunch of them, or do them in, different tranches with the.
Yeah. so.
Okay, anything else to come before finance?
I'm going to make a motion at 7:03 PM to go into executive session to consider the purchase of property for public purposes if premature disclosure of information would give an unfair competitive bargaining advantage to a person whose personal private interest is adverse to the city's interest, and also conferences with the law director of the city concerning disputes involving the city that are subject to pending or imminent court action to include the mayor, the law director.
That's fine.
We'll-
We're gonna go upstairs.
We'll go upstairs to the mayor's office. There's a second. Will clerk please call the roll?
Hazeltine,
Yes.
Lamb,
Yes.
Shields,
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Pepper.
Yes.
Motion carries.
We'll be recessing in executive session to discuss land acquisition and litigation, and reconvening into finance, taking no action, and recessing and adjourning into council. We are in recess.